In today's video, we are going to look at the fascinating story of Ruth and Naomi from the book of Ruth, chapters 1 through 4. This is part 2 of our series on the women of faith from the Old Testament. When Naomi was living in Bethlehem with her husband and 2 sons, there was a severe famine in the land, so she and her family had to leave Bethlehem and go to the country of Moab, where they could get food. But unfortunately, within a few years, Naomi's husband died, and not long after that, her 2 sons also died. And so now she is left with her 2 daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, who were the wives of her deceased sons. After being widowed for 10 years, Naomi hears that the famine in Bethlehem has ended and she decides to return home. She called her daughters-in-law aside and told them that they were free to go back to their people and find other husbands. Orpah did that, but Ruth refused. Ruth said, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything but death separates you and me." Naomi 1:16-17. What a strong statement of loyalty and faithfulness from Ruth. So Naomi and Ruth returned to Bethlehem together, where Naomi told Ruth to stay in town while she went out to the fields to glean grain behind the harvesters. There was a law in Moses that allowed the poor and needy to gather the leftover grain that was left behind in the field after the harvest. And so this is what Ruth did. She went out into the fields and gleaned grain all day. It just so happened that one of the fields where she was gleaning belonged to a wealthy landowner named Boaz, who was a close relative of Naomi's deceased husband. And we see that he was a kind and generous man, because he instructed his workers to purposely leave some grain behind for Ruth to gather. And when Ruth had gathered enough grain to make a small pile, Boaz came over and talked to her and asked her why she had gathered the grain by herself and not with the other women. And Ruth replied, "I am your servant. Have had mercy on me by letting me work here among the women of your estate. I have been a foreigner, a stranger in your land, but you have not said a harsh word to me. At harvest time, you even let me pick up grain that the harvesters have dropped, and I have gathered it. I am your servant. Please, sir, may I continue to do this lowly work under the shade of the women of your house, if only I might gain favor in your eyes." Ruth 2:13-16. I love Ruth's attitude here. Even though she was a foreigner and a very poor woman, she doesn't complain. She doesn't feel sorry for herself. Instead, she works hard as a lowly servant, and she humbly asks Boaz if she can keep working in his fields. Well, Boaz really liked Ruth because she was a hard worker, and he noticed that she had a beautiful character. He really admired her faithfulness to her mother-in-law, Naomi, and he noticed that she was modest and had good morals. And so Boaz continued to show kindness to Ruth. He instructed his men to leave extra grain for her to gather, and he himself would give her food and drink. After a while, Naomi noticed what was happening between Ruth and Boaz. And so she went and told Ruth, "My daughter, isn't it wonderful to know that the Lord has not forgotten the faithful women of Israel? Now, you must go to town and present yourself to the man whose name is Boaz. He has shown you great kindness. Wait till you have finished with your work, and then go to him, but don't let him notice you until he has eaten and drunk. Then, without telling him which you are, put your veil over your face and pour some wine into the skirt of your dress. And when he asks you, 'Who are you?' you can answer, 'I am Ruth, your servant. So I am your relative. The name of my husband was Elimelech, and he was your close relative. He died. And since you are the closest relative of the one dead, I have come to deal with you for a right of redemption and to buy back the property that belongs to us." Ruth 3:1-9. So this was the plan that Naomi gave to Ruth. And Ruth went into town, went to Boaz, did everything that Naomi told her to do. And as expected, Boaz was immediately drawn to Ruth. He asked her, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth your servant." And then she told him the whole story about how she was an immigrant in the land of Israel, how her husband died, and how Naomi had sent her to him to ask for help. And Boaz promised Ruth that he would take care of her from that moment forward. He said, "Don't be afraid, my daughter. I will take care of your petition, for all the community knows that you are a woman of noble character." Ruth 3:11. The next day, Boaz went to the city gate where the elders of the city were sitting, and he told them, "As you know, this is my near relative. His dead wife Naomi is the one who is to be redeemed. I have arranged it so that you will redeem her." And the elders said, We are happy that you are taking care of this matter. We want everyone here in Abel Salmon to approve and praise you." So according to the custom of the time, Boaz publicly announced his intention to marry Ruth and redeem her family's property. And he said, at the same time, he said to the elders, "Today you are witnesses that the Lord has made known to me that I must take this woman as my wife." So they gave their approval and blessed Boaz and Ruth, and said, "May the Lord give you offspring from Judah's royal line, and may there be in Israel a place for you to live in everlasting dynasty." Then the two of them went to the house of Naomi, and Boaz took his wife Ruth that day. And before they came to Naomi's house, someone was waiting at the gate with sandals, a cloak and staff. When Boaz arrived, the man at the gate asked, "Are you returning now, Boaz?" He said, "Yes, I am." Then the man at the gate said, "Very well. Let me tell you, your faithfulness to those who are dead in the family has been spoken of throughout the land. Surely the Lord will not forget your faithfulness. May there be a full measure of blessings from the Lord, who is with us, blessings from the Almighty, who is the maker of all things, and he will establish your dynasty in Israel, and through your offspring, your family will become like the family of the first ancestor, from whom you have received the inheritance. Thus in Israel, your family will flourish again, and you will prosper like the families of the ancients." And the blessing was completed, and the man at the gate departed. Ruth for 6:13. So the whole city rejoiced at the marriage of Ruth and Boaz, because it was a great blessing from God. And shortly after they were married, Ruth became pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy, whom they named Obed. And the Bible tells us that Obed became the grandfather of King David, and also a member of the direct lineage of Jesus Christ. So the main lesson that we see from the book of Ruth is that no matter how difficult your circumstances may seem, never forget that the Lord sees you and he cares for you. Even though Naomi, Ruth and Orpah had to flee Bethlehem because of the famine, and then they suffered the loss of her husband and both of her sons, God was with them through it all. And eventually, he blessed them beyond what they could have ever imagined. And even though Ruth was a foreigner who had no hope of ever getting married, God provided for her. He gave her a new family and a place where she belonged. God cares for immigrants and foreigners as well as Israelites. And he wants us to remember that he sees the foreigner, and he wants us to treat them with kindness and compassion. Alright, we've come to the end of our study of the book of Ruth. Next time we will begin looking at the book of Judges. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that little thumbs up button down below. And also if you know someone who needs to hear this message, then please share this video with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.